Hi guys, this is day 5 of Mr. Othel's Sketching and Drawing Challenge. So today the challenge was to draw a pen or a pencil. I think we'll go for a pencil, and today I've decided to use a 2-point perspective. So I'm going to use this as a bit of an opportunity to talk to you about drawing 2-point perspective cylinders. So basically we've got a cylinder, the end of the cylinder also goes into a cone, so we'll construct that. But to begin with, if this is your first time doing a 2-point perspective cylinder, just going to go through that process quite quickly so you can see it enlarged, because obviously if I was showing you on here it's going to be quite small. So we'll do a practice 2-point perspective cylinder, and then we'll go on to the drawing challenge. So guys, as usual with a 2-point perspective, we're going to start off with our horizon line. I'm going to position my horizon line closer to the top of my page today, so I've got some more room underneath it to work with. Nice light horizon line, 2 vanishing points. So I'm going to draw quite a large cuboid here to show you the technique for drawing a 2-point perspective cylinder. You start off with crating up, so making a crate with rough proportions of the cylinder that you want to make. So if you imagine this cylinder that you want to make, and then imagine the box that cylinder, or the crate that cylinder would have to go into. That's the rough proportions I'm looking for. So I've started off the usual way for a 2-point perspective crate. So my centre line drawn first, and then top and bottom of the centre line sent to both my vanishing points. Now, so if I quickly demonstrate this, if I was to have a circle, it should fit in a square, and it should touch at those points. So my circle is going to touch my square at these 4 points. If I was to draw an X through the middle of this, I would find on these diagonal lines that my circle touches them roughly 3/4 of the way up. So roughly 3/4 of the way up, my circle is touching those lines. I want to try and replicate that on the surface. So my first task is to try and get the right proportions for this circle to fit in a square. So when I'm looking at this, there's my first line. Let's say it's this line here. I want my next line to look, or I want the width to be roughly the same as this, but I can't just take that width and transfer it across, because it's going to look out of proportion, because this is getting smaller as it goes away. So I'm going to take that length and roughly bring it back a little bit, trying to force the perspective a little bit. So there's a definite sweet spot. I've just judged it by eye, taken that measurement, roughly transferred it onto this line, and then brought it back a little bit. That's because I'm trying to get the right proportions for this square. I'm going to draw my X corner to corner on there now. Keeping all my lines nice and light, nice light construction lines. My centre line here would travel through that centre point. So I'm just going to project the line from my right hand vanishing point through that centre of the X. And then I'm just going to add another vertical line, which would be this line, right through the centre point as well. Try and make this really accurate. It will affect the shape of the cylinder that you're drawing. I'm really trying to make this line parallel to the other 2 lines that I've got already. Should be right. right the centre a little bit out. I can then begin to mark these points out. So I know to begin with that it's going to hit right in the very centre there, up the centre line, and right at the very bottom of that. So I'm going to mark those lines with a little dot. Doesn't have to be a big football sized dot, just a little dot. It's going to hit here and on the opposite side as well. And then I can measure this, so I can find the halfway point of this. That's how I like to do it. So measuring that, that is 44. So I'm going to mark that at 22 and then mark it again at 11. So you can take the time to measure that out. If you've maybe not got a ruler or you're using a different kind of straight edge, you can actually just eyeball it as well. So you could look at this length here. There's the centre point roughly. And then I'm looking for the halfway mark of this as well. So I'm going to guess it's about there. Same again down here, halfway point is roughly here. Halfway point again to the outside. Same again up here, halfway point. And then halfway point again. And what I want to do now is connect all of those dots with a continuous line. Just touching them all as I go. But it's important that you keep your line continuously curving. You'll find that it'll go quite gradual and then it'll have to bend quite tightly. Just try and keep that line continuously curving. It's worthwhile to just give it a go first, very, very lightly. Muscle memory will help you get it right when you want to give it a go for real. So I'm just trying to give myself a little really light line to aim for as I'm guiding my pencil line around here, continuously curving line. What you'll find sometimes it'll be quite straight if you just curve it very slightly down from here, and then if you curve it quite tightly around, and then it'll go to a more gentle curve again. So you'll find that these two are almost mirror opposites of each other, as are these. These are quite a relaxed curve and these are a bit more tighter. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in as a bit more of a bold line. So that's just an enlarged version of what we're going to be doing today. I'll go ahead and finish this off to make this shape as a cylinder. First of all, I'll finish off my cube. So I'm finishing off my 2-point perspective crate here, just putting in this back edge that we would see. Or we wouldn't actually see, but it's like a wire edge I'm putting in. It's going to help me out when I am drawing the back surface. I've got a slightly squint line there. So I've got the one end of my cylinder sketched on this surface. Sometimes I kind of cheat it and just sketch on the other side, but I'm going to work it out this time, just as another opportunity to show you. So when we're drawing this cylinder, we're trying to sketch our circle into this side. So we're doing an X corner to corner. I'm going to project the line through my centre line here up to my right hand vanishing point. the top of my circle is going to hit that point, left hand point and bottom point, and actually some of it's going to be hidden by the rest of the object I can see. So I'm just going to work the this side of the circle. So I'm going to find the halfway point. Again, I could measure that, find the halfway point. I'm just going to do it visually, and then I'm going to half that again. So half again to the outside, half again to the outside, half and half again to the outside. And this is the curve that I'm looking to put in now. And part of it's going to be lost when this edge is going to put in, so I'm just really looking to add the curve in around here. Now, remember from the cylinders we were doing yesterday, at some point this curve is going to be pointing right at my left hand vanishing point. So that's the kind of angle that I'm looking to put in here. So I'm going to put my ruler right at my left hand vanishing point, just move it up, and where it just meets that, or that line disappears, that's where it'd be pointing directly at that vanishing point. I'm just going to add that line in. And same again from this corner. See, my curve maybe not quite right there. So guys, there's your 2-point perspective cylinder. Just going to do my bold outline now. A little opportunity to just blend in some of these lines a little bit better. That can be a bit of a challenge first time you give it a go. It's all about getting that continuous curve around here, getting the proportions of this side right. But once you do that, you'll find that you can get quite a realistic cylinder. Cylinders are a great thing to know how to draw. They form a large part of a lot of everyday objects. So that'd be level 1 challenge, to turn a 2-point perspective crate into a cylinder. And then we'll go on to the bigger part of our challenge today, which was to draw a pencil. Right guys, so I'm just going to set my page up, horizon line, 2 vanishing points. I want my pencil down here. So some of my eagle-eyed viewers might have spotted yesterday that I said the further I bring the drawn down the page, the closer it's going to look. That's not actually the case. The further I bring the drawn down, the more above it it's going to, the view is going to give the impression of. So I'd be looking down it. If I want it to look bigger, I'm going to start off with a bigger square for my isometric crate, for my 2-point perspective crate, and that would give the impression of it being closer and more zoomed in, I suppose, so it's sort of something like that. I want my pencil to kind of come down here, so I'm going to start off by crating up. I'm going to make it reasonably large on the end. I'm going to project top and bottom of that vertical line to both my vanishing points. So again, I'm thinking about the proportions of my pencil. So again, I'm thinking about how this circle sits in a square. So I'm taking this length, projecting it along there, but making it a little bit shorter. So this length should be a little bit shorter than that length. Go something like that. I'm going to project this line back to my left-hand vanishing point now. And now, thinking about the proportions of my pencil. So I don't want it to look too massive way down here. So I'm going to say somewhere out here. So I'm going to do the same pattern on this end again, so corner to corner. That'll help us find the centre. Right, from the centre point of my X now to my right hand vanishing point, trying to be as accurate as possible. And then a vertical line right through my centre line here. I can then begin to map on the points of my circle. And then when I'm taking this diagonal line, I'm looking for the halfway point again, halfway point again to that side, halfway point again, halfway point again. And then I want to join all these dots with a continuously curving line. Can take a little bit of practice to get this technique right. Do persist with it. So I've got the end of my cylinder now mapped out. What I'd also like to do here is to project a point out from a centre line, which is going to form the point of my pencil. So what I've really got here is, I suppose, this edge, or if I find the cylindrical pencil. So I've got this edge now, and what I want to draw now is the point coming out down here. I'm guessing how far I want the tip of my pencil to come out from here, so I'm going to say somewhere about there. I'm going to leave that just now. I'm going to come back to that and put the tip of the pencil in. I'm going to project the lines back from a curve here, or for my cylinder. So again, on this curved line, at some point this curve is pointing directly to my left-hand vanishing point. That's the point I'm trying to find. So that's now formed the top of my cylinder. That's the bottom of my cylinder. Now I could map out the same pattern on the back here, but a little kind of cheat technique might be, it's only a small curve that I've got to put on here, and if I can try and match that curve, the same proportions of that curve on the back end here, I can kind of make it look like I have. I'm just trying to blend my curve in to that straight line. I'll project that line back now. So I've got my cylinder now. Now I want to create the tip of the pencil. So I'm just going to project the line from where top line of my cylinder meets at the end of the cylinder, and I'm going to bounce that down to the point that I put in earlier on. I'm going to do the same for the bottom line to the tip of the pencil. I'd like to show the lead on the end of the pencil now as well. So I could do that just by, again, if I take that kind of curvy shape that I've got here and just try and replicate it in miniature down here. I can save myself a lot of time and effort trying to map out the curve again just by visually copying it, but in miniature. I'm going to show this line here almost as if it's the line of the black going into the sharpened tip of the pencil. So I'm just going to draw that in as well, a bit more bold. I might make this a bit more rough edged just to maybe suggest that it's been sharpened. And there we go. I'm going to actually rub out the back side of that curve. It wasn't actually needed, but it's nice practice for us all. So I'm going to put the bold outline of my pencil in now. So guys, I'd like to talk to you a little bit now about sort of shading, or rendering as we call it. So the idea is that you could add some colour to this to suggest shape and form, and there's a specific way to do it to sort of improve your drawing and to suggest that this is a cylinder, and to enhance the quality of your drawing. So we're going to give that a go now. So what I'm trying to replicate, I don't know if you can see that, we've got hopefully a sort of gradiated fill here, where it blends from a sort of dark line. And actually, even though it's a black pencil, we're beginning to see a bit of white on it. So that's what I'm trying to replicate when I'm adding my rendering my pencil today. So it's a kind of gradient fill, dark. I'm going to use the same kind of light source for this. So my light is going to be coming down. It's going to be hitting the top of the pencil. So I'm going to have this white line come down here, and we'll have it casting a bit of a shadow as well. I'm actually going to give myself a couple of lines to work with down my pencil, so maybe just gives me a bit of an indication where this white bar is going to be. I might just give myself another one to work with. So when I'm adding shading to a cylindrical object, the light's going to be coming down, hitting here. This is going to be sort of my white bar, and then it's going to be darker as this curve gets more in the shadow. So this bottom line is going to be as dark as possible. And as you can see, when I'm adding my renderer, I'm going in the direction of my object. I'm not working against it, I'm working with the lines that I've got already. That should help suggest the shape. Now, as I'm working up, trying to get a little bit lighter. Trying to use a pencil in quite a flat way. I'm not using the tip. You'll find that you get a bit better coverage using a pencil and holding it a bit flatter towards the page. I'm just going to try and keep this as a bit of light. I'm going to start at the top again here now. This will be a dark edge, but gradating towards that white line that I've got. So I'm going to leave rendering my pencil there just now, beginning to get the sort of gradient effect that I'm looking for. Hopefully it looks like it's quite shiny. When I look at this pencil, I'll almost get a double white line where the light's reflecting off it. That's what I've tried to go for here. Hopefully that's looking similar. Now, just when we're adding shading to this cone shape that we've got on the end now, these lines are all kind of going to come down to the point here. So I can project some of these lines down, just to give me an idea of the shape of my shading. And it's going to be darker, but this is obviously lighter, so I'm just going to lighten up my shading for the end bit to hopefully suggest it's maybe a different material. So I'm going to leave the rendering there just now, although I'd quite like to just finish this off by putting the black tip of the pencil in. I'm going to just try and keep a little white line coming down here to suggest that it's quite shiny. And the last thing I'd like to do to this today would be to add a bit of a shadow here. So if my light source was come down, bouncing off this edge, it's probably going to project a bit of a shadow behind it. And I'm just looking at this shape and I want to just add a bit of shadow underneath. So guys, that's day 5 sketching and drawing challenge. This would be your level 3 for a render and a bit of shadow done onto it. If you could do a pencil outline of that, that would be the level 2. If you were just going for the challenge level 1, it would be to turn a 2-point perspective crate into a 2-point perspective cylinder. Give that a go. This is obviously the foundation for what we're doing later on. So keep on doing the simple things. Once you get the simple things right, you'll find the more complex things come easier. So good luck everybody. I do hope that you're giving them a go. Please feel free to send me images of your work. It'd be great to see them. If you're wanting something else to do on here, you can maybe add in an eraser, a ruler. You could perhaps sketching the edge of a table and things like that. But good luck everybody. I'd love to see your work, so please do give them a go. Thank you and see you tomorrow.